What is up, good sir Isaac? How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. I think this is the one thing that I look forward to on Mondays. So
It's a good way to end the day.
yeah, absolutely. So how was your weekend? You get any gaming in this weekend?
A little bit. It was a busy weekend. The family stuff. My daughter got a National Honor Society, so it's
Nice,
prepared for that. Had a dance tournament. My son and I managed to get some golfing in, so that's still a game.
very
Um,
cool.
but a couple board games, couple small things I'll talk about at the end of the show that we had a chance
Yeah,
to play. But yeah, it was
that's right. You guys are into
good weekend.
golfing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
cool.
fun.
I remember you mentioned that when you were talking about Duffers a couple weeks
Yes,
ago. So that's
yes,
awesome.
sir. How about
That's
yourself?
awesome.
Any games over there?
Yeah, we got in a little bit of gaming. Gamed with my parents and my brother and sister in law. Actually, we played some Sequence, which was a game from my childhood.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. We have a couple memories from that. One is my grandmother teaching that when I was young, which was really important. My grandmother just recently passed, and I know you and I have talked about that. She passed last week, but that was an important game because she would sit there and teach that, and it was fun. And I was a teenager at the time when it came out, and so we enjoyed that. She loved Rummy, but my dad said, "Hey, let's play Sequence," because the last time I think we played that as a family, we were on a cruise ship, probably 6 years ago, playing on a cruise ship, and we would play round. We would just play game after game, just
That's
because
awesome.
it got so competitive. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's those classic games.
It is. It is. So Sequence is weird because it's so easy. It's almost like bingo, you know,
Right.
but there's still a little bit of strategy to it, and it's just fun. It's just silly and fun.
Good time
So
around the table.
yeah. So tonight, Isaac, why don't you tell us what our topic is?
So today we are talking about perfecting the teach. So how do you teach? How do you teach beginners? How do you teach seasoned players? How do
Yeah.
you teach kiddos? As we both have had
Hmm.
like multiple generation or age groups of kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had some experience. I'm sure, just like myself, you've had successes and fails with
Absolutely.
teaching many different people. So I think that's where we're going to start, right?
Yeah.
And kind of look through that. So
Yeah, and I think as people who review board games, you for gaming with sidekicks and myself for One Board Family, we are probably the people that people look to teach games. I know for myself, I depend on Bob to teach me games just because I think he enjoys teaching games, but outside of that, I don't have anybody else that I lean on to teach games. I'm usually the one that people lean on. And so we both you and I have a lot of experience in this area. So
for sure, especially if you want to, like you said, for reviewing games and you want to get, a couple new games to the table here and there
mhm,
with family members or even friends, you better know how those people are going to want to play it because you have one bad
absolutely.
experience. Next new game, they're going to be like, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah,
Can we just play something we know? So
exactly. Yeah, you don't want to default to Uno when you have all these amazing games
for
out
sure.
there. So let's start with kids. So teaching kids, what are some tips that we can give on teaching kids? Because you and I both, have families that, at different ages, it's different for teaching the little ones.
For sure. I was thinking about this with teaching kids. Like, I have two teenage kids.
Hmm.
For teaching them, it's like teaching adults. And we'll talk kind of about the adult styles in a minute. But when they were younger, it
Yeah,
was like be okay with playing mainstream games. Like a good game of Guess Who with kids, it can be hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
Operation, my favorite younger kid game. It's still like I'll play it right now. So I put it on the table. Is The Amazing Labyrinth
Okay.
by Ravensburger. I don't know if that's one that you played. I played a ton as a kid. I played it with my kids.
Hmm.
Like there's an even like simpler edition, but I love the way the tiles kind of slide and creating this dungeon. And it leads to like, oh, you like to dungeon crawl? Well,
Yeah,
let's try the Eisner brothers have a dungeon crawl game that's just a step or two above that, right? And then you can, oh, you want to really dungeon crawl? Let's get this big Gloomhaven box out and
yeah,
put this
yeah,
on it, right? So like it lends to ease of play
yeah.
with people.
Sitting there across from a 5-year-old with Gloomhaven, just being like, "All right, I think you're ready for this. Let's go." So
Well, and I
Um,
think too the sitting across from the 5-year-old, like we saw recently for those either on Board Game Spotlight, Lizzie posted a
mhm.
picture of a game that they were playing with their son that was it was chess, but it was story time chess. So
Yeah,
like just having fun with the game pieces,
yeah, yeah,
like just playing with them is okay. You don't need to sit down for a full game. You can just get out game components and
yeah.
get out all the pieces of um, Grim Forest and play with the cool minis and
Yeah, and that goes for any age. We recently went on a vacation, family vacation, and we found ourselves at a board game coffee shop, and in Jacksonville, Florida, and it was amazing. Like, great place. We ended up sitting there, and it's a $5 sitting fee for each person involved. The food
Yep.
was actually really good. The coffee was great. My wife is a coffee snob, so Aaron really enjoyed the coffee there, which was great. And
Positive.
then while Aaron and I, so we all played a game together, and then we played a couple other little things, and then Aaron and I played a game, and two of our kids just went off and they just played with chess pieces, and they made up their own rules for how something can be caught and when you can get it back and things like that. And they spent probably an
Awesome.
hour and a half writing down some rules and had a great time just playing with components. So,
Just having a
and
good time.
they're 13 and 15 years old. They still had a great time with it. So,
What
um,
works good for you with kiddos?
yeah, so I think keeping it simple and demonstrating how a turn goes. I think when you talk about kids games, you need something that the turns are quick, they're concise. I think of something like Winner Winner Chicken Dinner. You're rolling the dice Yahtzee style. You're deciding what stays, what goes, and then you do all the actions, and then your turn, and then it moves on. So it's quick to say, okay, this is what a turn looks like. I'm going to take the dice and I'm going to roll the dice, and then I'm going to choose what stays, what goes. The dog always stays. And so if you can demonstrate what a turn looks like for a kid, I think that they're going to understand it better than a long drawn out explanation. They can see you take the turn and then say, okay, I understand.
And go from there, right? For
Yep.
sure.
Yep. So tips for teaching, as far as like for beginners, one of the things that we have to do is test some of these games. I like to, anytime I get a Kickstarter that I'm previewing, I love to play it with my family, but I also love to play it with somebody who doesn't game very often,
Right.
because if we expect Kickstarter to grow as a community where new games are being purchased and new designers are being noticed, we need new people to be buying games. So I write a preview sometimes from the perspective of, will a new gamer spend their money on this? And so
Right.
what would you say about teaching a beginning gamer or somebody who only has a couple games in their collection?
It's funny you say that. When I write stuff up, I'll often put like, hardcore gamer, hobby gamer. This is what they'll think of us. If you're playing with your family, this is what you'll think of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a yes or no, right? Introducing it to a new player, like Recreators. Yes, introduce it to a new player, right? On Mars, no, don't introduce it to a new player, right? And those are the extremes, right? But
Yeah.
but being able to find the whys. But I think one of the ones, like for me, with teaching somebody who's new, and I put a post up on our Facebook group and asking for tips.
Yeah.
And I think Simon was the one that commented to this, like saying, like, you give a goal that give that end goal, right? How do I get victory points? How do I win? Start there, right?
Yeah.
This game, the goal is going to be to do blank, and then expand out just a little, demonstrate how turn goes, go through the rhythm and the motion, but start with, why am I playing this game, right? What are we trying to accomplish? And you may have a table that's like, give me the flavor, right? Like, like, read me all the backstory of every character.
Yeah.
And you may have ones that could care less, but everybody at that table needs to know, what are we trying to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my first tip for beginners. Make sure you are clear and concise from the beginning as to what we're trying to do.
I have a very similar thing that I wrote down. Basically asking the question, does everybody understand how the winners decided? I've gotten into situations where I realized that I didn't teach the game very well, especially years ago, that I didn't teach the game very well. When we come to the end and people are like, oh, I had no clue this was worth this. Oh, I had no idea that I had to collect that, and some of it is, if it's the same person over and over, it's the person not listening.
We hate hearing it either way.
Yeah. But no matter what, you need to know, you need to collect these things. Money's not worth anything. I was playing a game recently where money was worth nothing. Like, I had loads of coins on me. I was like, man, I'm rolling in it. I'm like Scrooge McDuck jumping into the money pit, but it didn't matter because it wasn't worth anything. And so somebody asked at the table, first turn or second turn, they were like, is money worth anything? I was like, no, don't get caught up in it. And so, so make sure that people know how to win, Right. Something that we both have on our lists, whenever you have a game night, I think it's become pretty common practice to be able to send out a link and say, hey, this is how you play the game. Why don't you watch it? Especially if you plan a game night a couple days ahead of time, it's something that we're going to be back into the rhythm of. Aaron and I are talking about this summer, what it looks like to have a couple game nights throughout the summer. I'm going to get used to 3-4 days out being like, this is the game we're playing. Here's rules. Here, watch a how-to video. This way they come in with some knowledge of what to expect.
Well, and it's okay when you have and again, as we start getting into bigger groups, 8, 10, 12 people, to have, I sent this link out if anybody's interested, to then, come game night, say, who watched the link? You get 3 hands go up, and maybe 2 other people said, I didn't, but I'd be interested. Go with the 3 that put the time in, because they're the ones that, like, they were invested into learning, and it's going to be a much smoother experience, right, for beginner players. And that's a beginner, even, somebody who's a hobby gamer, who's an experienced player, right? They're going to be comfortable with that. So another thing I had for beginners was, and it kind of ties into that, is like the assessment. So I've been dabbling, like little toe in the pool, dabbling with game design. And one of the things I really liked was the Kickstarter that did the failed journal. I forget the full name, but it was a journal where you can put down your test. And one of the things it talks about in there is like really, really paying attention to the people that are playing your game, not playing the game with them when you're play testing, but really paying attention to the people and assessing, are they enjoying themselves? Are they sitting back like this the whole time and they're just ticked off, right? Like, and so if you've got beginner players, like really start to get a handle. And I've done this with friends who are not gamers that we've tried to like push gently into the gaming world because they have some interest in really assessing, like, okay, did they love Azul, or were they just like, what the heck is going on this table, right? And I use the board game app on my phone, right? The board game stats app, and I will make notations on some of those games, so I know, when my friend Ross comes over, I know he likes some games, but I know what he doesn't like, so I'll lean into, like, okay, hey, do you guys want to try this? And
another thing is, when especially I had somebody reach out to me on Board Game Geek just recently and ask me the question, I'm looking to buy either Azul or Sagrada. This is the use case. I want to play it after work, chill out with my spouse. And then we also have a 6-year-old and would love to game with my 6-year-old. And so I thought through that, and I was like, okay, so I've taught Sagrada to my kids. I've taught Azul to my kids. I've taught it to new players, old players, hobby gamers, people who have never gamed before. And Azul seems like, to me, a more accessible game. I had a couple instances with Sagrada where the spatial reasoning of like putting things in that grid and trying to find the right space for it, like, caused so much AP that the game wasn't fun. It was a math problem. It wasn't fun because it was a Sudoku puzzle. It was more of a hassle to the person playing. So I think that's important to know the people who you're teaching. What is their game experience like? What does it look like? What games have they already enjoyed? If a person who comes in says, I love Yahtzee, I'm going to teach them King of Tokyo before I try to teach them Smartphone Inc.
Well, so over on our Game of Sidekicks post of this, Hank posted and said he likes using the scripted first turns in games, like Root or Wingspan with the swift start. I those are the first 2 that come to mind. I can't think of any other games that have like scripted turn 1, turn 2.
Wingspan does a good job with that. That was in the second printing of it.
Yeah,
Wingspan had basically like a sheet or 2 sheet that kind of guided you through your first, which is cool because I had a friend of mine, send me a text message, and it showed the box of Wingspan sitting on his dining room table, and I was like, "You bought Wingspan?" And he was like, "Bought it for my daughter's birthday," and I was like, "That's amazing." So, and they had a great first experience because they just went through that scripted turn,
Right.
that scripted first game, and had an awesome experience with it.
Easy lead in.
Yep.
Well, we also got a comment from Josh that said he likes to leave out rules so he can win. So not a good way.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea. So if you could, well, I've been accused of that before. I think Rick has accused me of that before, where I don't tell him a specific rule, hoping that he loses. I've never done that intentionally, but I'm maybe in the back of my head. So
The other thing I had for new players, I think is important, is to remember, like, the first game that got us in the hobby was Settlers of Catan, right? And we played that thing ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Like, it's all we played. And then the next game was Dominion, and we played tons of Dominion, and then tons of Carcassonne, and tons of King of Tokyo. Now I feel like I play a game once I'm on to the next one. Be okay with the fact that beginners, when you teach them something, they're going to want to keep playing it over and over and get a feel for it. And if you enjoy playing games, that really should be okay, right? Yeah. Like, we broke out 5 Tribes the other day, and I'm like, man, we used to play the heck out of this thing, and now I'm looking at, like, what do the purple meeples do again? Like, and you get away from it because so many games get in front of it, but you forget, like, oh, there's a reason that Dominion helps seed a love for deck builders. Right?
Well, we played Catan with another family around New Year, sometime in January. We were also sitting around, and they were like, "What's that game?" And I was like, let's do it. Let's play this. We haven't played it in a couple years. And so we set it up and everything. And I was reminding myself of the rules. I'm like, okay, great. Got it. Because we played a ton of that too. And then, so we taught them how to play Catan, and no doubt since January, they've brought it up probably 2 or 3 times. That game with the wood cards, that game with the lumber cards. And I'm That's like, awesome. And I have to think back. I'm like, oh, Catan. Okay. Yeah.
You're so, like, Agricola. I can get that out.
Yeah. It's like, I definitely did not teach them that. But you forget, you play a game so many times that you forget this is new to somebody. And this might be the start of their favorite game, so.
For sure.
So tips for teaching. I think this is a segment of, what are some tips that we've learned over the years, whether we're teaching hobby gamers, we have gaming groups that we're involved with. People come to our house and game. What are some tips that we can give to a person who is trying to teach their friends and family games?
I think the first thing we kind of talked about is understanding your audience, right? Like knowing who you're teaching. So to me, when people talk about, like, and I hear this a lot, like, I don't like to teach my wife games. I don't like to teach my kids games. They get frustrated. They don't like to learn things. I'm like, I love the challenge. And if I know the person, I feel like I can get a rhythm to, like, do they want a big rules explanation? I'll give it to them. Do they want a bunch of flavor text? They really want to get into the story of Honey Buzz, right? Like, I personally don't care. I love the theme. I think it's fun, but I don't need the full story. Right. Yeah. And so, like, do you understand the people at your table and how they play? Me personally, I want the rules like this, right? And then I want to just jump in and play. Help me understand as I go. I'm going to make mistakes. I never consider my first play, like, if a win, lose, or draw for my first play.
Yeah.
Fine. Like, I'm just trying to learn the game. And I hate sitting through an hour of rules when I'm going to re-ask them anyway once we start playing.
Yeah.
Like, teach me the basics and let's start going.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's how I prefer. And I think that's a good knowledge to know who's sitting at your table, how much
absolutely
detail, are you going to be able to tolerate with them.
I think another one is know the time commitment and announce it to the people playing. A lot of times my daughter, especially my oldest daughter, she'll check the side of the box and she'll look at the box and she'll be like, what is that? 30 minutes? She knows that all my kids know that the time on the box is not necessarily gospel.
Yep.
It's not always true. And so especially when something says 60 to 90 minutes, is the expectation 60 to 90 minutes? I'm looking over here at the Search for Planet X.
Mhm.
I think that one says 60 to 90 minutes, I believe. That game, if you're paying attention, is a 40-minute game, And so there are games in our collection that, like, the actual time that it takes to play is a little lower, and then there's some that are double what the box says.
Oh my God.
So just give your audience, give the players at the table the real deal, like what they can expect. Just say, hey, listen, the game that you picked or the game that we're about to play, it's going to take an hour, and I'm tacking on 20 minutes because it's going to take us a little time to get through the rules. Is everybody cool? Because otherwise, a person might expect 30-minute gaming, and then they're going to be miserable for the last 40 minutes of the game, and you don't want that. You don't want to put that on somebody, so.
Yeah, I had that experience with we got together some of our Game of Sidekicks guys not too long ago, and I very much felt like they were guesstimating 2.5 hour game. It went so long, maybe 4.5, 5. It was Cerebra.
Yeah.
It was, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just there was a lot of players, a lot of stuff going on, and I've started speaking of that Board Game Stats app. I've started hitting the clock. I've never used the clock before.
I've never used that either. I might start doing that.
Remember to hit it. For me, it's a curiosity thing, right?
Yeah,
Does this game really take 20 minutes to play? Right?
Correct,
Does this game like we sit here and go, oh my gosh, how long have we been playing on Mars? Well, let's see, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I know exactly how long. Yeah. So.
And so it's an extra little thing. I also have some players that like to know average scores. So that I like that in the app too, where I can go back and go, okay, I played this 10 times and this is the average winning score. This is the average score. Right. And so I think having some of those statistics, it's kind of nerdy. I still really like it, but they can be very helpful, right? Help me to learn like what kind of games a player likes, help me know time, help me know average scores, which can all help with teaching a game.
That's right. Yeah. I think another thing for when you're trying to teach something, I think that letting the person some people are, it's so funny because I've got a friend who he wants to see the rule book as soon as I finish explaining because he learns differently. He learns from like reading little bits of information and stuff. And so just know that the people who you're teaching know if they're going to do that, because I know some people would, I remember the first time he did it, I was teaching something and I said something and he was like, can I grab the rule book? I was like, oh yeah, totally. And he starts on page 1 while he's taking his first turn. I remember being like, does he think I don't know how to teach the game? I've played it like 5 times, but so then I realized, no, that's just how he learns. So just know that the people around you, they may not learn the same way that you learn. Just kind of take that into account. And if you know the people well enough, or if you game with them enough, just kind of understand how they learn new mechanics or learn new things. And don't take offense if somebody's like, hey, let me get that rule book. They're not, hopefully the person's not being a jerk.
So. Speaking of, you got a comment there.
Oh, okay. Bob, I hate reading rule books. Yes. Bob is the one that I learned from him because he teaches really well. And you have people who are good teachers and you have people who are terrible teachers. Bob is a very good teacher. So
yeah, I think
I don't care how Bob gets the knowledge. I just like it when he teaches.
I think we've all run into that, right? Good teachers, bad teachers. Like, don't underestimate the power of Rodney Smith coming to board game night with you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, you put it on the table, you let him teach through, people listen for 15, 20 minutes. It's going to save you half an hour fumbling around.
Mm-hmm. And so you've done that before. I've done that only with my family. I've not done it with others, but I've sat my phone in the middle of the table and been like, listen, we're watching this. It's 15 minutes. Pay attention to the best of your ability. But I've never done it with other people.
I don't do it usually, but the one game group I play with, one of the guys loves to do that. He'll get
Okay.
Rodney on the table. I usually watch it beforehand because I know that's how he's going to teach it,
Mhm.
and he's more comfortable letting him guide through it. And
Yeah.
so I would say for me, big, heavy games, I kind of do what Bob's saying here. I go to the videos
Yeah.
on Mars. When I learned on Mars, I watched the gaming rules video 10 times in a row, literally. Like I just kept
Mhm.
watching it over
Yeah.
and over. And then I went back and read the rule book, and then I watched it, and then I set it up and tried to play through it before I even put it in
Yep.
front of anybody else. Now I don't need to do that with every game, but that was a heavy game that it was necessary because I wanted to make sure. I mean, you know this, we all know this in our careers, right? Like you can teach when you teach something, you have to know it,
Mhm.
right? You can't teach something you don't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you can repeat stuff, but you've got to have an understanding, and people know if you're a good teacher based on your knowledge of what you're teaching, and it
Yeah.
shows.
And then they're
Right.
going to ask, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the point? What does this action get me?
Right. And I mess up stuff, like it happens, right? And you have to know some people are going to be much harsher on
Yep.
your when you're teaching. Some people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like I lost the game because you didn't tell me coins
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
victory points." Right? And I try to tell people from the get-go, like be okay with the fact that this game is a learning experience for
Yeah.
all of us, including myself. We may find stuff the next time we play that we're like, what the heck are we doing? There's
That's right.
multiple stories of that for me personally for on Mars. I keep using that because it's a heavy game
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
played things so wrong the first 2, 3, 4 times we played it.
Yeah.
And we went back and we're like, oh my gosh, okay, this makes it easier. Oh wait, this makes it so much harder. And you go back and forth and you kind of learn, you learn the mechanics. And once you get that rhythm down the game and like you can own it and you can teach it, man, that's great until you don't play it for 6 months and then you forget and you got to start over.
Yeah. And then you're back to square one. You're like, what do I do with this? How do I set this thing up? So very
So
cool.
are you familiar with the player types in Magic the Gathering? The traditional 3-player types. Have you heard that before?
The 3-player types, and no, I just know the different decks that I used to play with.
So years ago, there was a guy who wrote an article for Wizards of the Coast, and he went through this this aesthetic.
Oh, the different. Okay, gotcha.
The 3 personalities, right? There's Timmy, Johnny, and Spike.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard those before, but I think it's important to know, and they don't translate one-to-one to board games, but Timmy is the one who wants to just like get the big green monsters and go smash things and just have fun and watch how things happen and things blow up and get crazy.
Yeah.
He loves it. Right. And Johnny is the experimental one. He wants to get this to coordinate with that, to that, to that, to that, to that. He wants to play Gon's cleaver, right, and have like 20 things fire at the same time.
Yeah.
And Spike just wants to win. He does not care what happens. If he wins 9 out of 10 games, he feels like he lost the night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like you need to know the people at your table, like what are they looking for, right? What's their experience? How much do you need to turn, to turn it into drive to go, this is a competitive table and I got to give them everything I got.
Absolutely.
Versus I just want to teach them how this game, like if you can see, click, 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 boom, and they go, oh my gosh, you can do this in this game, right?
Yeah,
or you just got people who want to drop it on the table because they love watching pieces fly around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so
understanding your audience is so key with teaching.
It is. It really is. So you'll have a much better time if you're teaching the right game to the right people.
For sure. For sure.
So I think that'll do it on our little how to perfect the teach. Teaching games is a little bit of an art form. It takes some getting used to. There's a reason why people don't want to hold that rule book because it's a little daunting at times. So if you find yourself with some tips for teaching, we would love to hear them. No matter where you're watching this video, whether it's on Gaming with Sidekicks Facebook page, One Board Family, or YouTube, either of our YouTube channels, shoot us a note and put it in the chat and let us know what teaching tips you might have for the community. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Isaac, what is what you've been playing, man? So hold it. Bob has knowing your audience is huge and picking the right game to teach. That's right. So
for sure. He knows
right.
He knows what's up. So other than playing the board game stats app game, right?
Yeah. Other than playing Nerd Analytics.
So I don't do well with spatial games.
Okay.
Dimensions. What's the other one from Cosmos where you're trying to match up Ubangu?
Okay.
Like the stuff that's like put these things together in three-dimensional spaces, like kind of mess with my head enough that I'm a gamer who doesn't make multiple step planning for most of the games I play. I like to go seat in my pants and hope for the best and
Okay.
make little adjustments. So stuff that takes lots of planning, my wife loves, my son loves that I don't love. And so when he goes to pick a game, we've been playing a lot of this because again, it's a 20-minute game and it's quick.
Yeah.
Is number 9. This game, they laugh at me because I put so many stupid numbers on level 0. And I'm like, oh, it's too, I can't build up yet. I can't quite start.
Yeah,
and they're up to the 5th level and I'm barely on the 1st. Like, it's a challenge. It's a brain burner for me in 20 minutes that we can still have a conversation around the table and, still talk with each other, but still play this like crazy difficult game. I need to buy a second copy because, I know how easily it can play up to 8.
Okay.
If you had 2 copies, you could play it up to 8 players.
Yeah, didn't realize that.
But I mean, for those that are familiar with it, it's such a simple game, right?
Yep.
And just the way you stack these and just the frustration of like that should.
I wish I could get that number to fit. I borrowed Bob's copy a couple times and I really like it. My son Josiah works really well with spatial reasoning games and he beats me at that every time. So it's a good game though. So
toss it.
I've talked about solo games. I don't solo game. We just released a podcast today where first podcast back in 10 months. Check it out.
Congratulations.
More podcast. Yeah, I know. First proper podcast. We've done Will It Game episodes, but yeah, I talked to Rick about the fact that I don't do solo games, and he's gotten into solo gaming a little through the pandemic. But we got this game, A Gentle Rain, from Mondo Games. It just showed up the other day at the house, and really cool little game, very, very pretty. And so there are these tiles, and you're basically building out I'll show you the packaging of it. So take a deep breath and relax. And it actually tells you, just go ahead and play some music, play some
That's
chill
awesome.
music, get in the moment, and you're playing these tiles and just playing them face up, and you have to match at least one side like that.
Okay.
And all you're going to do eventually, if you match the sides up, you're eventually going to create a hole, and you put a wooden token in there that has a flower on it, and it's floating on the lake like a lily. It is real chill. And we actually played it. It's a solo game, but we played it with 4 players. We played me and Aaron and my son and his girlfriend, and we sat there. We played some chill music, and we put like raindrops and piano music, and it was just
Perfect.
Man, we're chill. Like everybody's putting peace out there. Nobody got mad with each other. Like that's a stupid move. We end up finishing the game, and it felt really good. And so I'm going to be solo gaming for the first time in my life. So
Fair enough.
Rain.
I got a copy of that sitting over on my table as well. So I haven't cracked it open, so I'm happy to know how to play it. So it's a focused solo game. Like can play with multiple players.
It says it's solo game, but invite a friend. You basically take turns laying the pieces down. And so we did it as 4 players because really, as long as people are thoughtful in where they're putting things, you're fine. Obviously I'd like more control. I remember there was one piece where I put it, and then I saw somebody else put a piece down, and like 2 turns later, I was like, that will never be filled in, because I saw that it had 2 of the same flower pieces focusing inward, and I was like, that will never be filled in ever. So, but it was cool. Everybody had a good attitude about it, and we played, and I could see sitting around and just listening to some music and trying to get my best score. I could definitely do that.
So it really owned the multiplayer solo, title that some games get. People want, oh, that's just multiplayer solo. Like, I don't mind that. I don't mind sitting around table, all of us working with similar stuff to see who gets the best score.
Yeah.
Or just enjoys, like you said, the time at the table together.
That's right. So,
2-player game that's gotten some resurgence play around the house. My son has gotten into the chess app. I don't know if you ever use it, just chess.com app. It's easy, it's free.
Okay.
It's got great tutorial stuff to learn and get better in puzzles. And I got a couple friends I play on it, but he's as his head's getting around chess a little more, he got out this gem of a game.
Shobu.
From Smirk and Laughter, right? This is one that Bob actually introduced me to at Origins in 2019, right?
Yep.
When this came out, and sat down, put it on the table. He's like, "Hey, you gotta check this game out. You're not gonna believe how good this game is.
Yeah.
It's 2-player. It's better than Onitama. You're really gonna like it." And I was like, I don't know. That looks like really like some rocks and a rope.
Yeah.
What's the rope for? I don't even understand what's going on. But such a smooth, and you talk about a chill kind of game, like smooth 2-player chill. It's competitive, but it's not like aggressively combative.
True. Yeah.
It's such a fun, like, you've got to be paying attention to all the cogs on the table. And I like it. I really like it a lot.
It's a really good game. Bob owns a copy. I don't, but I could definitely see borrowing that from him. So
you have played it?
I have played it. Yeah, I've played it 2 or 3 times. So it's really good. I really enjoy just the thoughtfulness of how the pieces move, and like you're pushing the stones off of the board. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got this giant box. I went for the Zombicide Simon Kickstarter year and a half ago. So I've never, it is, and there's another box over there. I never played Zombicide, but I love the game. When I was gaming after college, it was after college, Aaron and I were married and everything. Zombies, the game Zombies from Twilight something. I can't remember, but it was a fun game, just zombie miniatures and laying out road pieces and shooting zombies in the face. It was a lot of fun. Zombicide, I always had this idea of like, it's kind of like that, but on steroids. And there's all these cool rules. So I actually had no clue how to play this. And I got it in the mail 2 weeks ago, I think, right about 2 weeks ago. And I sat down and read the rule book, understood it. And we've been playing it every 2 or 3 days. I really, really enjoy the game. So it's cooperative. It's fun. You have missions in the rule book, but you also, I'm sure there's missions online and stuff. But I've had a lot of fun with it. And another part of it is one of the things that's kind of been helping me through this, like dealing with grief right now, is painting the zombies. It sounds weird, but so my day job, I'm a web designer, web developer. And so code and things like that is, I like the like how specific it is, the attention to detail. And so I started painting these Zombicide miniatures, and 1 weekend I painted 8 minis, and I felt good about it. I feel like I'm getting better at it. It's helping me focus. It's really good. It's chill. So yeah.
Do you how big are they? Are they pretty good size?
Yeah. The minis are a decent size. I'll show you.
So they're not like the zombies, like the game you're talking about, because those guys were tiny.
Yeah, those guys are. Yeah, those are real tiny. So let's see. I'll grab.
And that was published by Twilight Creations.
Twilight Creations. That's right. So let me do full screen here. So they're right there.
Oh, yeah,
see if I can.
Pretty good size.
Yeah. So it's, of course, it's not going to focus when I want it to focus.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Come on, you're right in the middle of the camera. I'm getting out of the way. Is it going to focus? It's not going to do it.
No,
Forget
sorry.
it. Anyway, he's gross looking. He's nasty. But yeah, I've been painting the minis, and they've been coming out pretty good. So that super pisses me off that it won't focus. Are you serious? Okay, forget it. Whatever.
So what's your paint technique? What do you base coat them and then paint them? Do you
don't screw it up? That's what I call it. So no, I spray it. I spray it first with just a coat of primer, and then I'm mixing different paints to get zombie skin looking, and it looks pretty decent. So it looks like a gross, nasty, dead person. So
perfect. Yeah, our family's foray into painting was when I got Mechs versus Minions.
Okay.
And I started painting those minions. There's 100 of them in that box.
Really? Yeah.
I figured if I can get some rhythm to painting, it's painting literally the same type of figure 100 times. I think I got through like 30 of them. And I just used like hobby acrylic paint, watered it down really well. Didn't even really prime them, just painted them through, did a dry brush of a dark color, and I was happy. We did an art project one day with the family. We talked about this game earlier, but we got Grim Forest out.
Yep.
Literally just said, all right, Saturday, we're going to paint this all up.
Mm-hmm.
This will always be my copy of our family painting Grim Forest.
Yeah.
And some of the minis look great. Some look like a kid painted them, and it doesn't matter, right? Because they're always going to be mine for that.
It's got its own flair to it,
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of minis, that's the other game I have on my list. It's funny you mentioned CMON. This is my first CMON Kickstarter. They have not drugged me in with any of the big stuff, with the Rising Sun, with Ankh, with any of that. But man, if I'm not a sucker for Marvel games,
I was about to ask. That's what it is. Yeah.
I went with Marvel United. This box is the Kickstarter extras for Marvel United. Like, this was hey, we hit all of our stretch goals. Like, there's just so much stuff in the game. And you talk about painting minis. Like, I will definitely.
That's what this is. This is the
same idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how they hook you, right? That's because they know you want in on that exclusive stuff that you don't want to miss out on.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, like, I'm gonna have fun painting these minis because they're good size. And
they're a good size.
Let's see if mine will focus.
Oh man, that's awesome. Oh, full screen.
These are not small minis. Oh, mine kind of tried.
It tried. So
we're just not having luck.
Our cameras are not working well today.
It wanted to. It definitely wanted.
There it is.
There it is.
Nice.
I mean, the detail on these guys are exquisite.
That's really cool.
They're huge pieces. Like, I'm excited to, paint some of my favorite heroes and villains, and they're just characters I just really like. And had a chance to play this a couple of times. If I'm being very, very honest, it's okay. It's a very, very simple co-op game. I can see where it's probably gonna get a little repetitive with the characters, but it's fun. And the theme, like we talked about earlier, if you get somebody into theme, they're gonna just enjoy that. And you get a bunch of guys around the table, I'm Hulk, and I'm gonna play Captain America, and I'm gonna play Venom. Like, they're just gonna love that theme part of it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really awesome. My last game that we're playing is Aldabas. This is a upcoming game from Grand Gamers Guild, and so this is it's a really cool, interesting game. You are basically there's these door knockers that are door colors and door knockers, and there are different not factions, but classes in the game. And so everything scores. It's a little bit abstract, and I like it. It's what cards are in the grid when you finish the game. And then there's this hidden thing where you're actually placing things into a vault. And so you can hide scoring from your opponent. So Aaron and I have been playing, and you can hide scoring cards in your vault so that they're not shown. So while I'm looking over at Aaron's doors and I'm like, okay, so if she's scoring nobles, she's got this many points of nobles, but she doesn't know, even though we're tied, I've tucked 2 nobles underneath this vault. And so it's really cool. Nice. I think it's going to be a positive preview for a game that's going to come out. It's going to hit Kickstarter in May, and it's going to be a 2020 full release. So, yeah.
2021 release?
2022. Sorry.
2022.
I have no clue what year it is. So I'm not keeping up at all. So it's going to be a 22 release.
Got it.
It'll be on Kickstarter, I believe, May 4th. Okay. And we'll be posting a preview of One Board Family. So
nice. Look forward to checking it out.
Cool.
I love a good Grand Gamers Guild game.
Absolutely. They do such a great job with that. So, where can people find your work, Isaac?
Anywhere you see Gaming with Sidekicks. You can find us fairly active over on Facebook on our Gaming with Sidekicks board game community page. Our Instagram page is probably where, outside of our main website and Facebook, we do most of our stuff. So we post some great pictures, have a little fun with comments, and YouTube. I'm trying to get that rolling again, making these videos is helpful because I'm just posting them over on YouTube and getting some unboxing stuff. And I think Stuart, one of the guys on our team, is going to be doing a live playthrough of Chai for 2 in the near future from Steeped Games. That's something that we just got into our hands. So
nice.
Some fun stuff coming down the pike.
That's great. Very cool. You can follow us at One Board Family all over social media. We just hit our 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which was exciting. So we've been knocking on that door for a little while. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary last week of unmatched Friday night fight. That was really fun. We played 2 versus 2 match, and it's a little overwhelming because Aaron had to deal with 2 fighters and I had to deal with 2 fighters, and so we've got 2 hands of cards, and we're like, okay, this one, and then which one am I attacking with? And but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with it, and ended up doing a giveaway through there with Restoration Games. So it was a lot of fun. So 1 year down. So
many more to go.
Yes. Cool. So that'll do it. Thank you so much for joining us on the Game Chat. Remember, if you have any teaching tips that you want to share with the community, no matter which community that you're a part of, be sure to post them in the comments so other people can learn how they can teach games better. So
for sure.
All right. Isaac, have a great week, sir.
You too. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.